On June 5, 1971, during the taping of The Dick Cavett Show, longevity and health guru Jerome Rodale was a guest, and he passed away from a heart attack right during the show. Having finished his interview, Rodale slumped back in his chair, his head suddenly falling backward. Supposedly, at that moment, Dick Cavett turned to Rodale and said, "Are we boring you, Mr. Rodale?" Cavett himself has vehemently denied ever saying anything like that. He also stated that he somehow immediately realized that Rodale was actually dead and wasn't joking. He distinctly remembered asking if there was a doctor in the audience. Ironically, during his interview, Rodale had said, "I'm in such good health that yesterday I fell down a long flight of stairs and laughed all the way down." And Jerome also claimed he was determined to live to be 100. The episode never aired for obvious reasons. A rerun was shown instead. However, Cavett has described the event numerous times in documentaries, interviews, and on his online blog. Rumor has it that Cavett still has the tape. As you've already understood, in this video, I'll once again lead you into the world of dark and gloomy lost files. I look forward to your support in the form of a like and subscription to the channel. Enjoy the viewing. On November 22, 1963, American President John F. Kennedy was assassinated while riding in a convertible in Dallas, Texas. Lee Harvey Oswald was identified as the assassin, having opened fire on the motorcade from a window in a nearby warehouse. A subsequent investigation concluded that he acted alone. However, since then, numerous theories have been put forward over the years, involving many possible accomplices. One such theory arose around a mysterious woman in a headscarf. In the photos, she appears as a dark-haired woman, seemingly about 30 to 40 years old, wearing a brown coat, sunglasses, and a scarf on her head. Shortly after these events, she became an object of interest, as all films and other images were meticulously studied for signs of an accomplice. The woman was among a small crowd standing on the side of the road. She drew particular attention, not only because of her unusual out-of-season clothing, but also because in a photo taken after the incident, while everyone around her had dropped to the ground, she could be seen still standing calmly facing the roadside, raising her hands up, strongly suggesting that she was holding a camera. Not only has no photograph taken by the woman ever been found, but even her existence has not been confirmed, as the photos cannot prove whether she actually had a camera. On December 14, 1995, professional sky surfer Rob Harris tragically died during the filming of a Mountain Dew commercial called 007. During a take, Harris jumped from a height of 1,500 meters, and the lines of his parachute became tangled, preventing him from deploying his reserve in time. Ultimately, Harris crashed to his death. Several months after the incident, PepsiCo requested permission from Harris's parents to air a slightly altered version of the commercial, containing footage Harris had shot previously. They reluctantly agreed, eventually deciding that Rob would have wanted it that way. For a time, rumors circulated that clips from Harris's fatal jump were included in the commercial, but this has since been confirmed as untrue. Not to mention, it would have been incredibly insensitive on the part of the producers to do something like that. Several songs were dedicated to Harris's memory after his death, and a foundation was created in his name. The fate of the video recording of his death was never revealed, although it is presumed that it was either destroyed or confiscated by the authorities.
Megan wants love, Megan wants money, to live a life of milk and honey with a man who takes her there. A gentleman extraordinaire. Megan wants a millionaire.
Megan Wants a Millionaire was a reality show that aired on VH1 from August 2nd to August 16th, 2009. The show revolved around 17 millionaire bachelors who underwent challenges to win the heart of American model Megan Hauserman. In each episode, the men would take Megan on increasingly extravagant dates. The last remaining man would win the chance to marry Megan. The show had very low ratings from the start and received criticism for its questionable ideas. The final nail in the coffin was the incident in which one of the show's contestants, Ryan Jenkins, murdered his wife, Jasmine Fiore, on August 15, 2009. The show was quickly canceled out of respect for Jasmine's family, and only 3 episodes aired, with the 4th and 5th episodes being uploaded to YouTube. The 6th episode never surfaced. On August 22, 2009, VH1 officially canceled Megan Wants a Millionaire, along with the 3rd season of I Love Money, due to Ryan Jenkins' participation in it. On August 23rd, exactly 1 day after the show's cancellation, Ryan Jenkins was found dead. Mythbusters is a science entertainment television program hosted by special effects experts Jamie Hyneman and Adam Savage. They subject various modern myths to rigorous scientific testing. Over more than a decade, the show has featured numerous astonishing tests, but on only 2 occasions has it been remarkable that the footage never made it to air. In a 2006 episode entitled Steam Cannon, there is a myth which posits that a cardboard box contains more nutrients than cereal. In the resulting segment that aired, Adam and Jamie explore various ways of determining the nutritional value of cardboard, and this episode looked unremarkable and disorganized compared to regular episodes. In a Q&A years later, Adam explained that this was because the original plan for testing this myth went so horribly wrong, so awry, that it became unsuitable for broadcast. According to his account, the experiment involved laboratory mice divided into 3 groups. One ate regular mouse food, another ate sugary cereal, and the last ate cardboard box pellets. After several days of filming on a Friday afternoon, the film crew noticed that the mice eating cardboard were behaving strangely. Resuming work the following Monday morning, they discovered that one of the cardboard mice had eaten the other 2 mice in its cage. All that remained of its victims were their heads and tails. The show's producers at the Discovery Channel refused to allow this carnage to be part of the episode. In the segment that aired, Jamie only very indirectly hints at not exactly being stoked about eating cardboard due to concerns about toxicity. At Silicon Valley Comic-Con in 2016, Adam recounted the story of another experiment that was subsequently completely removed. They decided to test a myth about the explosive potential of a readily available material. According to Adam, their mindset was, "This stuff is supposedly very explosive. Let's see if that's true. If it is, we'll censor the details so people can't make it at home. But more than likely it isn't. So we'll tell people not to waste their time on it." However, the opposite turned out to be true. Everyone was shocked and horrified when the results were so impressive and dangerous that instead of censoring the instructions, they destroyed all the footage and agreed never to speak of the experiment again. Stephen Sean Griffiths, better known as the Crossbow Cannibal, killed 3 women between June 22, 2009 and May 21, 2010. He lured prostitutes to his apartment in Bradford, West Yorkshire, and then murdered them for the purpose of cannibalism. On April 26, 2010, 31-year-old Shelley Armitage disappeared. Shelley ended up in Griffith's apartment, where he killed her with a crossbow bolt and then partially ate her. During the dismemberment process, Griffiths decided to record the process on his mobile phone, where he described in detail what he was doing. At some point after the murder, Griffiths lost his phone on a train. Eventually, it ended up in the possession of several people who were able to view the footage. The mobile phone was even sold twice before it was handed over to the police. According to reports, the mobile phone also contained video recordings of other murders committed by Griffiths, with one senior detective describing it as the most disturbing thing he had ever seen in his life. On May 21, 2010, 36-year-old Suzanne Blamirez was found missing. Suzanne turned out to be Griffiths' last victim, as well as his most infamous. He lured her to his apartment, pretending to be a photographer. Shortly after Suzanne entered his apartment, she suddenly left and ran down the hallways, with Griffiths in pursuit. Eventually, Griffiths caught her and shot her point blank in the head with a crossbow. He then began dragging his victim back to his apartment. It was then that he finally realized that there was a CCTV camera in the hallway, which had just captured the entire murder on film. Just an hour after the murder, Griffiths began looking for his next victim and almost found her, seeing 28-year-old Rosalind Edmondson heading to a 24-hour pharmacy for methadone. He complimented her and invited her to his apartment. She went with him, and CCTV footage captured the two of them leaving the building. However, Edmondson changed her mind and decided to return to her apartment. Griffiths didn't try to convince her to change her mind and returned home about an hour after the encounter. Griffiths immediately confessed to the crimes, calling himself the Crossbow Cannibal. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. As for the photographs and video recordings, none of it has ever been publicly released. The mobile phone containing the footage remains in the British legal system. I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream is an adventure horror game released in 1995. It was developed by Cyberdreams and Harlan Ellison. The game has a reputation for being disturbing and depressing, but there is evidence that before its official release, it was even more gruesome. The game is set in the distant future. All of humanity has been killed by a mad, extremely powerful sentient computer called AM, short for Allied Master Computer. He has kept 5 people alive whom he has tortured all this time. One day he decides to send them into virtual worlds, where each of them is forced to face their traumatic past or their inner flaws. Evidence has been captured of original, uncut scenes from the game. The British TV show Gamesmaster filmed a horror special in 1995, which featured bloody or shocking moments from video games. One of the episodes showed scenes from I Have No Mouth that never appeared in the game's release. In the meatpacking plant, according to the script, human bodies hang on hooks. In the official release, 2 of these bodies are replaced with pieces of beef. In the script, Gorrister is depicted with a close-up of a puppy that takes up the entire screen. It looks sickly, and Gorrister seems to manage to restore its health. Commentators say that this is done by feeding the dog a human heart. And also a scene where Benny eats a baby. Most likely, these scenes were removed due to fears of generating controversy and criticism towards the project. A playable version of the game with those extended scenes never surfaced. On April 20th, 1999, 2 Columbine High School students, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, went to their school and killed 14 students and 1 teacher, also wounding many other children. After that, they committed suicide. The shooting was dubbed the Columbine High School Massacre, and the consequences of these events continue to be discussed more than a decade later.
Goddamn piece of punk ass! That's with that friggin' kid! If you do, I'll rip off your goddamn head and shove it so far up your friggin' ass, you'll be coughing up dandruff for 4 frickin' months!
I don't care what you say. If you ever touch him again, I will frickin' kill you. I'm gonna pull out a goddamn shotgun.
In December 1999, Time magazine reporter Tim Roach was granted access to 5 video recordings made by the killers, which investigators had discovered, outlining their motives in a sort of kill list.
Yeah, the government here wants us to take out another one of those radioactive closed-infested encampments.
Yeah, we've been doing those for the past few months.
Roche published an article about these tapes for Time on December 20th, calling them the basement tapes. In 2003, a 15-minute recording of the killers shooting at the Rampart Range was released. And in 2004, a short film that they created together for school a few months before the massacre, titled Hitmen, was released. In 2006, the sheriff was told that he was now allowed to release the remaining footage, but he ultimately refused to do so, fearing that some troubled young people might be inspired by the recordings. After the aforementioned showing in 1999, the unreleased tapes were never shown to the public. However, in February 2015, information surfaced that the unreleased tapes had been approved for destruction by the sheriff, and they are currently lost. Albert Fish was an infamous American serial killer, cannibal, and rapist, known as one of the most brutal killers in criminal history. He was sentenced to death by electric chair, which was carried out on January 16, 1936. A few hours before his execution, Fish wrote several pages of notes, which ultimately formed the basis of his final statement, which his lawyer, James Dempsey, refused to make public. From 1910 to 1920, Fish became fascinated with cannibalism. This led to the murder and consumption of 3 children. Fish wrote letters in which he confessed to the murder of Gawny and Bud, emphasizing his perverse mind. And these letters can be easily viewed online. However, the notes written before the execution, the lawyer refused to make public. Thus, the only people who know what was written in the notes are Fish and Dempsey themselves. Since both men are long dead, we will never know what was written on those pages. On the morning of July 15, 1974, at around 9:30 a.m., American television news reporter Christine Chubbuck shot herself in the head on live television after struggling with depression. The infamous broadcast shocked audiences and made headlines around the world. In the lead-up to her suicide, Chubbuck volunteered to prepare a segment on suicide for the television station. One of her colleagues later recalled that, around the same time, Chubbuck said something to him like, "Wouldn't it be wild if I killed myself on live TV?" July 15th began almost like any other day. Shortly before going on the air, Chubbuck stated that she needed to read the news broadcast in advance. Unaware of her true intentions, viewers watched as she read the news for 8 minutes, covering 3 national stories. When she reached the 4th story, the reel jammed, and Chubbuck pulled out a revolver. The following day, Chubbuck was pronounced dead. Soon after, a restraining order was filed against the 40th channel, WXYZ-TV, by Chubbuck's family, prohibiting the release of the video recording of her death. The 2-inch videotape was then seized and handed over to the family, who are said to have destroyed it. In early 2021, YouTuber Alistair acquired what is commonly believed to be a legitimate cassette recording of the incident through an anonymous private collector and posted it on his YouTube channel.
And complete reports of local blood and guts news, TV40 presents what is believed to be a television first. In living color, exclusive coverage of an attempted suicide.
A staggering amount of media is lost to time, forever. As we've discovered, there's a whole world of dark stories out there. In this video, I've attempted to illuminate just a fragment of this grim underbelly of the internet. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Spookify. See you next time. And don't look behind you.